الله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد, I thought that one of the themes we could reflect on today, inshallah ta'ala, in this service together is the idea that we get gifted, although the pivot point is arbitrary from year to year when we go from one year to the other. We bid farewell to something that is called 2023. Here we are on our footsteps with the whole full new year called 2024. And at the beginning of this year, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saw it fit in His infinite wisdom to deposit in our life bank account a certain number of days, however short they might be, or however more they might be, only He knows, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He gifts us these days in the hope that we do with them something that pleases Him. And it is a precious gift indeed. I have a tendency to always say that when it is time to pull from your bed in the morning and you open your eyes and you find yourself on the right side of the dirt, that's an incredibly lucky day. Because somewhere, some neighbor, in some place, some loved one did not have that luck. And that day was the day where we're going to end up under the other side of the dirt. So this gift of time, this gift of life, this precious, precious, precious gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us is something that needs to be reciprocated with a great deal of gratitude, reverence, and what is going to be the main theme of the khutbah today is responsibility. How do we show responsibility to that gift? I want to begin with the first teaching that comes to us from the Quran, and that is in Surah Ali Imran. And for those of you who wish to review it later on, it's verse 140, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَتِلْكَ الْأَيَّامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. These are the days that we bestow and gift people in turns. نُدَاوِلُهَا is sort of a wheel of fortune that turns. Some get it and some don't. And we pass it on from one group of people to the other. Why? Is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does this for sports? Here you go. These are a bunch of days and months. I just want to see how it goes. حاشا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala أعطى كل شيء خلقه ثم هدى. He gave all things creation, then He guided it. So obviously with the prescription of a gift like this and a treasure like this, He's going to provide some guidance. So what does the verse say next? وَلِيَعْلَمَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. When you get entrusted with this responsibility of being given life and health, it is for Him to know who are truly the believers and the faithful ones. وَيَتَّخِذَ مِنْكُمْ شُهَدَاءَ. And those who will then ascend to become witnesses to life. Witnesses to life. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala issues an ominous warning. وَاللَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الظَّالِمِينَ. Al-dhulm here is in reference obviously to the gift of the verse. So if the responsibility of this time is squandered, misused, misappropriated, used in a way that is not intended by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then this is seen as a great form of transgression against the mercy and the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how true it is. How true it is. Ibn Khaldun in al-Muqaddimah says something about people who do not pay attention to the gift of time. He says that civilizations, al-hadarat, are like individuals. They are mortals. They have a birth time, they have a growth time, and then they decay and die and disappear. Just look around you today. How many religions are no more? How many languages have gone extinct? How many people no longer exist in the form that they want to exist? And how many civilizations that once were the envy of all those that lived around them are literally the interest of archaeologists that go in and dig their remnants from ruins and dust them off so they can read what they might have engraved in a piece of clay. And they are just gone, totally gone. So Ibn Khaldun says, they rise, flourish, and then decline. Then he says what the root cause for such cycle is. He says it's due to a number of factors, and these factors include internal corruption, external threats, and loss of faith. So it is obviously a complex problem with many, many options that one can think about. So one context to raise our commitment to the responsibility of the gift of time is to remember that we are social beings. It's not about what is it that I have to do for myself. It is what is it that I have to do in conjunction with my brothers and sisters so we make our tomorrow better than our today. And in doing so, then we do justice to this gift of time. Nowhere, and it's young, these creatures that have 2 legs and 2 eyes and look like what we look today, they have been around only for about 2.5 million years. So we are really work in progress in the timeline of the world. But there are characteristics about this new condition of the human being that no civilization and no human beings have known before. We have tech that can obliterate the world, destroy the biosphere, and can bring about a life extinction event. And it comes in many forms. Nuclear weapons and AI and all kinds of things are going on around us, to gene editing technologies, all kinds of things are going on today. But our brains and our emotions are still extremely immature. For a little bit of disappointment or a little bit of anger, somebody can go and terminate the life of somebody else. Just look at how we ended 2023. A group of people with absolute power and cruelty and absolute disregard for human life, in few weeks have put to death over 28,000 people, wounded 60,000, destroyed an entire land, destroyed every possible institution with which people can exist and function. And it's not enough. That's the capacity of what happens to human beings when they lose God in their life. When faith, as Ibn Khaldun said, when faith is no longer there. And so we learn from that our first lesson for 2024. How can we make this better? The second point that we need to cultivate, hopefully this year, to make sure that we improve, all of us collectively as human beings, is to build a sustainable community, specifically for us Muslims, to do better for ourselves and to do better for others. We certainly are made out of 2 constituents. We have constituents that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has gifted us, and they are innate in us. The gift of time, the gift of life, the gift of intellect, the spirit to be able to believe in Him, and the passion that we have as human beings to love and to care and to be human. But He has also gifted us things that He can take away in a moment, and if we don't nurture them, they go away. The gift of family, the gift of community, certainly the gift of the ummah, and overall the privilege of being part of humanity. Lest we forget that these are gifts that come from the divine, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states it explicitly into the language of the Quran. In Surah Al-Rum, He says, that's verse 21, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ, it is from the signs of Allah, not an evolutionary biology that is purposeless, not a random experiment in the hope that something might come out one way or the other, not a senseless power relationship of the powerful against the weak. It's min ayatihi, it is from His divine signs that He is going to prescribe some things that we need to look at and observe. And خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا, that He has created from you pairs. This is a divine act. It's the hand of Allah directly interacting with objects that seem to be disconnected in order to create a miracle out of them. And that miracle is that from that self, He has created a pair. Same thing. Why? Why would He do so? I mean, you read Mesopotamian myths. In the myth of Gilgamesh, when Enkidu was created, some god of that time put together some clay and some fire and breathed into them and I don't know what, and it became some beast that is half human, half beast. Such myths exist in time. This is not what we are talking about here. Here we are talking about the craftsmanship of the maker of the world, taken from His attention and His purpose and bringing about something in order to become an ayah, a sign of reverence. When people see it, they are in awe as to what that creation means. So why did He do that? لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, so you can find within that pair a state of tranquility. You can achieve a total state of peace in the condition that you can find in the mate that Allah has prescribed for you. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And again, by taking an active verb, it is He, Allah, who has made between you compassion and mercy, so you can experience those things. So how do you pay attention to this and to demonstrate that you got it? I always say this. I think it's something that I borrowed, I believe is from C.S. Lewis, the great Christian theologian who wrote this in one of his books. He says that Allah speaks in different size letters of the alphabet. Sometimes He speaks in block letters, and sometimes that are large, and sometimes He speaks in small letters. And the idea of the message of pointing block letters that are very large and small letters is to be able to cater to all those that read the signs. Obviously, you can't be driving down the highway at about 65 to 70 miles an hour and use a 12 font in a sign to be able to give you directions. That would be silly. So the size of the letters are extremely large to make sure that you can drive safely and find your way safely. Obviously, on a piece of paper like this, I can get away with the 12 font because I'm fairly close to it. Allah caters to both of these things. So when He makes these signs available, in them, He writes them with large block letters and small letters, so everybody gets to read and see what they are supposed to see. And so that's how He concludes the verse in Surah Al-Rum. إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. Those are the signs for people to reflect upon them and develop insights that will stay with you. I want to stay on these two terms, al-mawadda wal-rahma, that seem to originate from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. First, we know where they come from. They are attributes of the divine. They are two of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, al-wadud and al-rahim. And yet he says that he took from his attributes and he gifted portions of them to this creature that's called the human being, so we can go about modeling those attributes ourselves in our lives. So each and every one of us, in our own way, we become a little candle of compassion and a little candle of mercy to bring the light in a place that has gone dark. I tell you, boy, oh boy, oh boy, if we did a fraction of 1% of this modeling of these attributes, the world would already be a much better place than it is today. But so is the decree of Allah. He chooses, He prescribes, but He doesn't take from us the free will to exercise what we do and what we don't do. That freedom still remains ours, and we need to honor it and make a better world this year, inshallah ta'ala. Our responsibilities, I would postulate, are very serious. Today, in this country, in our country of the United States, things are not going well. We are in a lot of hurt. We lost our moral compass. The culture wars are tearing of the fabric of this society that took an extremely long time and a lot of pain to bring it to what it is today. We are suffering from the reduced social cohesion. Everybody looks at everybody else as an enemy. We have an unbelievably ineffective governance. Everyone that throws himself in front of us, we scratch our head. Oh my God, is this the person we want to lead us? We have issues of suppression of diverse perspectives. Everybody that speaks now, the coercive power of those that have the money and the power try to crush everybody else. And to me personally, what I think is one that will have an extraordinarily negative lasting effect is the erosion of civil discourse. I'm a bookworm, so I read a lot about all kinds of books and whatnot. And I used to remember the tingling in my stomach when I read the books of just few hundred years ago, maybe 100 years ago, from 150 years ago, of a public servant who would write a letter or who would write something and who's conscious that they are writing for posterity. And in their text there is wisdom and there is eloquence and there is value and there are things for people to learn from then and after that. And today, goodness me, one of those people comes in front of you and starts speaking, and the first thought that just comes to your mind, when is he going to stop? Please God, when is he going to stop? Because it's a carnage. Why? Is because the space of that civil discourse is gone. So we have a lot in front of us to work in this year to bring it back, being obviously an election year. And I think it's harder, and I think it's much more serious. This warmongering that's going all over the place, the lack of economic opportunity that is undermining our social progress and continuing to compromise our future. And more importantly, us, the Muslims on the receiving end. I came across a piece of statistics that concluded 2023 that was done by a number of independent surveys, that Islamophobia at the end of 2023 grew by 209%. Grew by 209%. You want to talk about the scary future? Start there, because numbers don't lie. And we got to do something about this. So what do? I happen to love the Arabic language, and I happen to love the wisdom of it when it condenses a lot of value in very few words. There is a saying in the Arabic language that goes like this: في الشدة يقاس الصبر. In hardship, patience gets tested. وفي النقاش يقاس العقل. At the time of argumentation, your intellect gets measured. وفي المواقف يقاس البشر. And on serious issues, you're gonna know who's the human being who has values and who's the human being who happens to wear a mask and the mask will fall. And I love that. And I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst those to whom this proverb will apply. In addition, the Prophet ﷺ guides us with something which is an inoculation. We have a vaccine going on in our ummah. An incredibly beautiful gift, an incredibly beautiful idea. The Prophet ﷺ said, لا تجتمع أمتي على ضلالة. رواه ابن ماجه والطبراني وغيرهما. It's an unbelievable statement. So this is what Prophet ﷺ is saying in modern language. It is impossible for the community to reach consensus on something that's wrong. You want to ponder this idea seriously? Seriously? Which means that as soon as we come together, there is an internal dynamic into the group. It's not power dynamic. It's value dynamic that starts to work in the group to purge out the bad ideas, like an idea marketplace, promotes the better ideas, and then the consensus will rally always on what is right. That is amazing. That means if I put my future in your hands and you collectively make a decision, I am guaranteed one thing. It's not the wrong decision. I mean, that is, think about what that means. Think about what that means and the value of what that is that the Prophet ﷺ gifted us. So we need to help to bring that gift to others. And the big step we can take after the one that I shared now is to commit ourselves to the welfare of others. I find it very interesting that if you read across all civilizations, all cultures, advanced, less advanced, technologically in their rise, non-technologically based, it doesn't matter where they are across the entire globe. In modern times, in medieval times, in ancient times, they all have something in common. They have something called the golden rule. Do unto others what you like them to do unto you. They all have some variance of this. They don't say it exactly the same way, but they all have some variance on this. Do you know what I find absolutely fascinating about Islam? That's not enough. Okay? You cannot go like this. Wait a second. You mean you can do better? Yes. وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ بِهِمْ خَصَاصًا. The norm in Islam is that you prefer others over yourself. It's not enough to do unto others what they do unto you. But can you take it a notch above? When Al-Ansar welcomed the Muhajirin in the program of the Prophet ﷺ when he was found in Medina, he basically used a three-step process, a very simple principle for nation building. The first thing that he did, he arrives and he needed a crucible, a sort of large pot in which you cook civilizations and you prepare civilizations for the future. The framework for the Prophet ﷺ there was very simple. That pot is called the masjid. So the first thing that he did, he built a masjid. So now I have a place where I can bring the ingredients in order to make the amazing soup that's going to be called Islam and the Muslim community. Second thing that he did, as soon as that crucible was ready, to now he has the vessel, but it's empty. He's got to put something in it. So to put something in it, he invested in al-akha between al-Muhajirin wal-Ansar. So he brought the Muhajirin and Ansar together. He brought them together. He dissolved the barriers between them. And out of a sudden, in that crucible, there was the red and the dark skin and the yellow skin and the one who speaks Arabic and the one who doesn't speak Arabic and the one who's an immigrant refugee and the one who's a settler and the one who's rich and the one who's poor and the one who has an unbelievable amount of knowledge in religion and the other one who has no knowledge at all. He put them all together and then he said, the bond that's going to connect us all together is the bond of brotherhood. And we'll go on this journey together. And it's only after the two first ones were put together that he then started to talk about values, to say that it is now an open program to whoever wants to join it. And I feel that our community, our nation, and everybody around us is hurting so much that all of these apply, and our role in having a positive impact can be extraordinary, and time is running out. May this be the year where we see some of these responsibilities taken translate into a future. I want to conclude, inshallah ta'ala, with something that I think is very, very, very critical to think about in the Muslim mind. I have seen very, very often, individually and collectively, us Muslims, we seem to have our emotions and our faith on a constant roller coaster. We go up, 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 and then something happens to the world and it deflates and crushes everybody down. Then we get reset again and we go up, 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 and then it crushes and we go all the way back down again. That is extremely unhealthy, and it doesn't give us a staircase on which we evolve with our condition from one generation to the other, because whoever comes, we seem to be reset again, so we can start from zero again. I think that one of the things that we can do as Muslims is to help hold things that seem to be contradictory. We can have our hearts bleed from an entire community that belongs to us, and that is being subjected to a genocidal, murderous program. And whoever doesn't see that, and whoever doesn't feel that, needs to go see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Yeah, that's fundamental. We have to feel that. If we don't, we're not human. But here is the mistake. If that then becomes a recipe of a crushing depression on the community, and all we do is we are with the burden of guilt, and a sense that, oh my God, what do we do with our lives now, etc., etc., etc. That's not right. That's not right. We have to hold hope and managing suffering together at the same time, and manage them well, both together. And I'll give you a few reasons about why we should manage hope in a way that we can celebrate. Been around this community and this area, get there. 5 p.m., listen to the lecture of the 3.5-hour drive until it finishes at 9 p.m. and then come back all the way here to be able to crash and start another day the next morning. I remember the days that for us to pray the Taraweeh for Ramadan, we would import a kid from Egypt or from Saudi Arabia or from wherever, for them to be able to read the Taraweeh, because there were not enough Hafiz in the community. And we didn't have clinics. And we didn't have messages like this one. And we didn't have the number of the community like this one. And we didn't have the talent that we have today. And we didn't have resident scholars that are available to us. And we didn't have counseling services and full-time schools and whatnot. And you mean to tell me that we are going to enter 2024 depressed and not feeling encouraged and not feeling that there is a fire inside us, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has gifted this community with blessings that they cannot count? That would be an incredible tragedy, and that would be an incredible ingratitude towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to learn to appreciate what gets given to us and count our blessings. I'll give you an exchange that I read once. I can't remember, it might be in one of the tabaqat of the Sahaba. There was a very, very short exchange between the Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So the Prophet ﷺ discloses to Abu Bakr the following statement in a very gentle way, as an act of recognition and gratitude. He says to him, I can't even fathom how I can repay you supporting me financially. Because essentially Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu bankrolled the program of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala answers him in the following way: how can you thank me for the fact that you were the one who brought light in my life? How can you even think of asking me this way? What has happened over these years is that light was brought in our life. Light, there's light that was brought to our life. And that we have to meet with a cheer, and that we have to meet with gratitude, and that we have to meet with a great deal of responsibility. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us that sense of responsibility, inshallah ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه فوز المستغفرين. الحمد لله ثم الحمد لله وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا دينا إلا قضيته ولا مريضا إلا شفيته ولا مبتلا إلا عافيته ولا ضالا إلا هديته ولا غائبا إلا رددته ولا مظلوما إلا نصرته ولا مظلوما إلا نصرته ولا مظلوما إلا نصرته ولا أسيرا إلا فككته ولا ميتا إلا رحمته. عباد الله، أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله وأقم الصلاة إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا.
الله أكبر الله أكبر، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح، قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله.
استووا واعتدلوا. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والسماء والطارق وما أدراك ما الطارق. النجم الثاقب إن كل نفس لما عليها حافظ. فلينظر الإنسان مما خلق. خلق من ماء دافق يخرج من بين الصلب والترائب. إنه على رجعه لقادر. يوم تبلى السرائر فما له من قوة ولا ناصر. والسماء ذات الرجع والأرض ذات الصدع. إنه لقول فصل وما هو بالهزل. إنهم يكيدون كيدا وأكيد كيدا. فمهل الكافرين أمهلهم رويدا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum. Brothers and sisters, please stay. We have Zanaza now.
Assalamu alaikum. I'd like to make the announcement before Salat al-Janaza. We will be heading to Cedar Knoll Cemetery located at 175 Staple Street in Taunton. Because of the timing, Maghrib comes very quickly. The last time we waited for Asr, it was already dark at the cemetery, so we will not be waiting for Asr time. Those of you who will be coming, please, after Salat al-Dhuhr, join us at the cemetery. There will be a place at the cemetery where you can pray Salat al-Asr, inshallah. But please, because of traffic, try to leave as soon as you can, inshallah, so we can meet at the cemetery. Barakallahu fikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Just for you, as you make your dua, inshallah, if you can personalize your dua, we will share with you the names of the deceased, inshallah ta'ala. We have with us brother Shuaibu Zuntu. Shuaibu Zuntu is the brother's name. And the sister's name is Fadumu Hassan. Fadumu Hassan, inshallah ta'ala. We present our condolences to their families and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give them ajr, inshallah. And inshallah, make it easy for them. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
So today Asr prayer will be 2:30. It's kind of far away. So the Azan is around 2:10 or 2:15. So if you can wait, then wait, inshallah. Salat al-Asr will be at 2:15. And please donate generously for the center, ISBCC. And we always looking for volunteers. Jazakumullah khairan. And there is a dua request by a brother whose grandma passed away. Inshallah, may Allah give her Jannatul Firdaus A'la. May Allah grant her a good finishing, a good ending in the qabr. May Allah make her qabr a spacious place, inshallah. Allahummaghfir laha warhamha wa nawwar qabra wa thabbitha in the soul.
You get me for Asr.